May 20th, 2021. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 233 of You Can Bet On That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet On That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
All right, let's talk about the Kentucky Derby scandal.
Okay.
I must talk about this. All right, so to fill people in, so the winner of the Kentucky Derby, Medina Spirit, failed a post-race drug test. He tested positive for an excessive amount of a steroid that is sometimes used to treat pain and inflammation. Now, Bob Baffert, the horse's trainer, denied any wrongdoing,
Right.
of course. Mm-hmm. But Churchill Downs, which is the racetrack where the Kentucky Derby is run, suspended him from entering any horses at their racetrack.
Right.
So, pretty hefty suspension there. Shortly thereafter, Baffert claimed that Medina Spirit was a victim of cancel culture. Not sure what he meant by that. He might want to look up the definition of cancel culture. They were just saying that the horse had too many drugs in his system. I'm not sure how that's cancel culture. It's possible that Medina Spirit's Kentucky Derby win will be overturned, making Mandaloun the official winner. However, that hasn't happened yet. And even if it did, it wouldn't affect any payouts.
Right. All the payouts are still going to be final.
Right. And that's true with any horse race. Once it's
Right.
official,
Right.
which generally happens moments after the race, that's it. And, you think about it, it has to be that way because everybody gets paid off. What
Right.
would they do in this situation? Oh, Medina Spirit, he was disqualified. So if you won, we'd appreciate you to come back to the track, return your winnings, on the honor system, and thank you very much.
It would open a whole slew of possible cheating where somebody could intentionally get their horse disqualified later and then have a huge bet on the second place horse, right or something.
Right.
So, no, you can't change the wagering. It's just for the record books is what it's for.
Right, for the record books, exactly. Now, some gamblers have actually filed lawsuits against Baffert, which I think is kind of funny because, it's going to be a big hassle for him. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think they have a chance.
No.
They're claiming that, the results would have been different and we lost money where we would have won. I think that's going to be a hard case to prove. But it's more, more headache for him.
All it would be to torture him, right? To make him get an attorney and defend himself and something.
Yep.
But they have to spend some money too.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't
Just
know that it's going to go over. Now, Medina Spirit was allowed to run in the Preakness, where he finished third. But since then, Baffert was suspended from entering horses at all New York racetracks. So Medina Spirit will not be running in the Belmont Stakes. So, another suspension there. Mike, this is not the first time Baffert has been scrutinized for doping his horses. So is he guilty? I think that he is. He's claiming that he doesn't know anything about it. Well, the buck stops with him, right? He's the trainer of these horses, right?
Sure.
So you could argue all these things. Oh, he was set up. Was he set up even with all these previous investigations? Was somebody working for him doing it, without him knowing? All these things are remotely possible, but, I think that...
it's hard to say, really, 100%, but you can be pretty certain, I guess, that he knew something was going on. I've got a couple of things to mention for you.
Ahead.
Things that you probably haven't thought of, Mark.
Thank you.
So think of this. Number one, steroids do not increase your productivity or enhance your ability a la Barry Bonds. We all know that Barry Bonds didn't take steroids. And Mark McGuire, I'm just going to start naming some names of people who, they had steroids in them, but it didn't enhance them at all.
Oh, okay.
So, the horse probably would have ran the same with or without the steroids.
So that's the first thing that didn't occur to me. Thank you for calling that to my attention.
The second thing is that he got the steroids through butt cream. And who of us, between you and I in this room, who hasn't put butt cream on their, behind and then the next day felt pretty good?
Yeah.
All their aches and pains are gone. And sure, he had some steroids in him, but It was just butt cream.
Okay.
That's what I heard Baffert said.
Thank you for bringing those facts to my attention because, that did not occur to me. How much
butt cream do you have to put where the steroids actually get into your system and then test positive after the race? And when did he put the butt cream on? I mean, was that like right before he goes out?
I think it would be the night before. If you're asking me about butt cream application, I'm thinking the night before.
Some helper guy slaps him as he's getting out of the train.
Have a good race.
I heard, and I'm not joking about that. Baffert said it was steroids in the butt cream, and I don't know, how does that get in your system?
Why even say anything? See, this to me makes him look more guilty.
Right.
And I'm sure there are a lot of Baffert faithful out there, who are rooting for him. That's fine, right? I'm not a court of law here. I'm not out to prove anything. But this is a pretty bad thing to happen to a sport that's been struggling with bad PR the last few years.
Sure.
It's kind of a waning sport. There were a lot of horses that died at Santa Anita a couple years ago.
And now bettors are going to think, in a feature race like the Kentucky Derby, there's cheating. So what are the chances there's cheating in the third at Del Mar on a Wednesday or something, right? Well, yeah, there's probably cheating.
This really makes me angry. Any kind of cheating at this level makes me angry. It's kind of like Lance Armstrong, right? Especially, he denied it for so many years, things like that. Yeah, the steroids in Major League Baseball, the Astros cheating, stealing signs, that kind of thing.
Right.
That kind of stuff makes me so angry. And yeah, I'm a big baseball, since we're talking about baseball, I'm a big baseball fan. I still am. I love the game, but I hate that kind of thing. And boy, do I sure hate this happening right now.
Well, the thing that I hate about it is if you cheat and you don't get caught, you're still a cheater. If you cheat and get caught, you're an idiot and a cheater because you've just tarnished everything you've done, right? Yeah. It means nothing. It's like Lance Armstrong's wins mean nothing if you're cheating.
Yeah. And you make a good point, Mike. There are plenty of cheaters out there that don't get caught.
Well,
we're talking about these big scandals.
I'm sure baseball was full of them.
Oh, yeah. And that depresses me quite a bit. It really does. And this thing with the Kentucky Derby just makes me so angry, again, because, of all the sport. Now, I'm not big on horse racing. We've talked about that. I don't really bet on horses anymore, right? But it's not like hey, good, this happened to, horse racing.
Right.
Maybe this will be its downfall. No, it just makes me angry and it makes me feel bad about the human race in general. And I can go on and how it affects me deeply.
Well, the thing about steroids too, Mark, I've always thought they shouldn't label it performance enhancing. Mm-hmm. Because actually what steroids do is they're an anti-inflammatory. So they help you heal faster. And so you don't suffer the pain that you would without the steroids.
Okay, right.
So if your knees are bad and you take steroids to enhance your performance, it's not that they made you a better batter. It's just that they made you not have pain while you were batting and your muscles healed quicker.
Right.
So for an older person or somebody, it does make you better. But it's
than you would be without it. So performance enhancing may not be terribly descriptive.
Right. It makes it almost sound like, I swing the bat faster.
Right. But
you
in
still
fact,
have the ability.
You'd be swinging the bat slower without them because of the inflammation, and the pain, and that kind of thing.
That it would,
And you could argue the same thing with the horse, right? The horse, okay, it doesn't make him run faster.
No.
But it makes him run faster than he would with the pain and the inflammation.
Right. It's the pain that stops you from performing.
Yeah.
So, they're a pain blocker is basically what they are.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I just get a kick out of it was butt cream. That's his excuse. Come up with something better than that.
Yeah, or don't say anything.
Right. Don't say anything.
God, so
think about all the diaper derbies in America over the years where some kid won strictly because, his mom used the right kind of butt cream.
Yeah.
And, some other kid who got talcum powder and no butt cream, he lost. The record books need to be changed, Mark.
Yeah, all the county fairs around the world.
It's all a farce.
All right. Well, I felt the need to talk about this because it makes me so angry, but let's move on. But let's keep the negativity going. Mike, you had something to say about people on the road and people at the table.
Right. I was driving home from Harrah's Ringcon one night where I had just run up there and got my free plane. I was driving back, and I was there so quick that it really wasn't dark yet. I left work and went up there, and I'm driving back. It's like twilight.
Okay.
And I'm going up that hill, and people who, have been there know that the road is not the greatest.
Yeah, right. Very close to the casino as you're arriving or when you're leaving. It's quite a mountain, and it's quite windy.
And there's a lot of blind curves where you can't see what's coming until it's there.
Yeah, and the edge of the road is essentially a cliff.
Right, is essentially a cliff.
Yeah.
Right. And there have been accidents. There's a lot of, little memorials along that road where people have died.
Yep.
So I'm behind a car, and the speed limit on the straightaway part before you get to the curves is like 45.
Mm-hmm. It used to be 55. They lowered it. But
they lowered it, yeah.
But yes.
Because it is very dangerous. And even 45 is probably a little steep, I think. But I'm going up, and there's a car in front of me, and they're going like 20.
Mm-hmm.
And then it slows down to like 15.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this isn't somebody who's scared of the road, right?
Right.
But then, the car kind of drifts over to the middle, and at one point is actually completely in the other lane. It's only two lanes.
Oh, my God.
And I'm behind him. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, even if they're scared of the road, this is a terrible driver. So I'm slowing down even more because I'm thinking if they get in a head-on, I don't want to be the third car that gets dragged in.
Oh, yeah. Somebody could come around a corner and go right in. Never see him if he's in the other lane.
Yeah, and going fast. I mean, some people coming down are going fast, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they'll hit him, flip over, and land on me. Right. So I'm even going slower. So I'm, essentially going like 8 miles an hour up this hill.
Right.
And meanwhile, there's a line of cars behind me.
Yeah.
And they're all honking, except for the ones right behind me who can see the other idiot.
Yeah, right.
So we finally get up the hill, and I'm thinking, okay, as soon as I can, I'm going to try and get by this person. Mm-hmm. And they get up to there's an intersection, and you can turn and go to another casino, Valley View.
Yeah.
Or you can go straight.
Yeah.
Well, he pulls over into the turn lane. So I'm thinking, oh, good, he's turning. Yeah. But then he went straight. So then I'm stuck behind him again. And that road is it's straight.
It's
two
fast.
Lanes. It's fast.
It's a fast straightaway.
It's a fast straightaway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's still going slow, still drifting over and crossing back and forth. Finally, I get to a point where I can pass him where the road becomes 2 lanes each way.
You weren't interested in trying to pass him on that straightaway?
No. Oh, no. I mean, there are some passing spots.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, I'm not, because I'll get over there and he'll veer right into me. Yeah. So it's just safer to stay behind him. Anyway, I get up to the point where and I look over, and it's a middle-aged guy, maybe even younger than me. Mm-hmm. And, he's probably totally wasted. Yeah. Because that's all I could figure out. It's the only way to drive like that.
Yeah, he didn't look like confused. He didn't look scared.
No, he was leaning back, and, he was definitely drunk.
Yeah.
So I'd probably been at the casino all day and then decided to go home.
Could have been, yeah.
And I was telling you, the next time we're together, I'm telling you that I understand people drinking, and I have nothing against that. I mean, absolutely nothing. It's just that if you're going to drink in a casino or something, at least, and you're going to go home, you're not staying there, make some arrangements, or go with a buddy like you and I. You'll drink and I won't, so I can drive.
Right.
Or if I do drink, then you stop earlier. We always make arrangements so that we're not even buzzed when we're driving. Yeah. And then you can still have fun. You just have to make arrangements.
Yeah. So Mike, you're saying don't drive drunk. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, basically saying.
Good for you.
Don't drive.
I'm completely behind that.
Don't drive drunk or impaired in any way. Yeah. So anyway, leaving that where we were.
Yeah, so you told me this story. I told you a story
going to the casino.
As we were driving up this last weekend. Right. Correct, yes.
And we get to the casino, and towards the end of the night, these 2 people walk up to our table, which is a $50 table.
50, yeah.
Right, $50 a bet. And they're so wasted. And the guy, first of all, they weren't wearing their mask. And the pit boss kept saying, you got to wear your mask. The woman's saying, I don't have one.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you got to get one and you got to wear a mask. And he said, I don't have any here, but check the other pit. They probably have some. Yeah. They used to just give them out, but I think now they're getting where they're not handing them out as frequently.
Right, because we're probably getting close to the point where we won't have to wear them anymore.
We won't have to wear them, so they're not stocking up on masks at the casino. And she's putting up a big to-do about it. And then the guys guy's not wearing his. He has one, but he's not wearing it.
Meanwhile, you're on kind of a time schedule at this point, right? It's getting late, and you do need to get going.
Yeah, I wanted to keep playing because I want to, and the game just slowed down.
Yeah, you want kind of a quick game at that point, sure.
Slowed down to a crawl.
Yeah.
And then the guy buys in for $100, and we've gone over this before. You're playing at a $50 table where every bet has to be $50. $100 is not enough money.
No.
And then they say it's a $50 table. He says, okay. And he hands them the $100 in chips and wants all the numbers. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, it's $50 on every number. I know I gave you 100. That's what he said. I know I gave you 100. Yeah, so you can get 2 numbers. No, I want them all. And it's a back and forth. It was so annoying and they were so wasted. And then as we're driving home, I was so mad. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I took everything I said about drinking away.
Because on a previous episode, you were saying you kind of miss the, in Vegas and everybody drinking and having a good time and being loud. So you took it all back.
I took it all back on that drive. I said, forget, you shouldn't even allow drinking.
There should be no booze allowed in the casino. Or anywhere for that matter.
They were so annoying. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, and they stayed for, once they figured out what was going on. They,
and the dealer's trying to be polite and nice. And he's like, well, this table here is 25.
Yeah.
And those ones are 15. If you want to play on those are only 15. And, they can't understand a word he's saying because they don't know what's going on. And they were rude.
Oh, that's the other thing too, right? Yeah, it wasn't just kind of the happy, funny drunk. It was the rude, in your face.
No, if they
I don't need to wear a mask.
Yeah, if they had been the happy, funny drunks, I might have got a kick out of it. I might have been okay with it, but they were just rude.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just conduct yourself properly.
Okay.
Whether you're Bob Baffert or you're just some Joe in a casino.
Yeah. Conduct yourself properly.
Right.
Once again, fantastic idea for a T-shirt. That might be the best one.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have that. Conduct yourself properly. All right. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. YouCanBetOnThat.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to some voicemails. First up is Jason.
Hey, gentlemen, Jason out of Michigan. Finally heading back out to Las Vegas for the holiday weekend coming up. Super excited to actually take a trip and go somewhere. I got a question for you on craps. I've played a little, but nowhere near as much as you guys and don't know all the rules. But how does it work when you have a point established, a 6, an 8, whatever it is? You have money either on the pass line and you got your odds behind it, or you walk up to the table during the roll and you have no money at all. Can you put money on the pass line, and can you move your odds up and down behind the line during a roll? Obviously, with other card games, you are not allowed to do that because you're changing, the outcome, so to speak, of the hand. But in craps, I know it's a fluid game, and wondering how that works. And then also, just give me one little hidden gem, a casino on the Strip or downtown that you say you got to hit while you're out there that most people don't know about. I'd like to check something out when I'm out there that's new. Thanks. Have a good day.
All right, let's handle that last question first. And I'll go ahead and answer first because I know this is the first time you've heard the question. Maybe you can think about it. I was thinking maybe just Golden Gate downtown.
Yeah.
Just because, it's a small casino, kind of intimate, but also a lot of energy. They've got the loud music and the dancing dealers at night. And we love playing craps there, So,
if it's a Friday or Saturday night, that's a fun place.
Yeah. And maybe Ellis Island too, which is just a little bit off strip. Great for low rollers. I've heard good things about the front yard, kind of a new indoor-outdoor place there. But what do you think about a hidden gem in Las Vegas?
Yeah, those are two good examples of something. Now, it depends on what you're looking for.
Sure.
If you said to me, what's a hidden gem for, a place to eat, I'd say Hugo's Cellar at Four Queens.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
because most especially younger people don't even know that
You don't even, and
exists.
even when you're in the casino, it's just kind of a small
It's not,
entrance there. Yeah,
they don't promote that a lot.
not too much. No,
No, and that's a wonderful place to eat.
Yeah, that's good.
As far as like just casino atmosphere, I definitely go with Golden Gate. The D's fun too.
Yeah,
D's
for the same
fun,
reasons.
For the same reasons, yeah. And I haven't been to Circa, but I'm sure it's the same because that's kind of his thing. And those are fun casinos to be in.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I haven't been to Stratosphere in a long time.
yeah, that's true. Go up to the top, ride one of the scary rides if you want, or just look around.
If you like scary rides, that's the place to go.
All right, let's talk about some of the other questions he had. So, if you walk up in the middle of a roll, first of all, you shouldn't be buying in the middle of a roll, but let's say you already had chips and you walked in and there was already a point that's been established, 6 or what have you. You can put money on the pass line and take odds with it. You're probably better off, though, placing the number. And you can place the number by just putting it on the outside line, the actual printed line of the pass line betting area. And if you just put it there, you could even tell the dealers, I'm placing the point here.
I was going to say, it's usually a good idea if you're doing that to say out loud to the dealers, I'm placing the point. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll leave it there where Mark suggested you put it, which is a proper place to put it. Sometimes they'll just pick it up and move it up and place it.
Sure, they can have it, on their part of the layout as well.
Right.
So, but most casinos will, if you want, let you put money on the pass line when there already is a point. A good dealer, though, would probably warn you and say, hey, maybe you want to place it instead.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not taking odds, and this is a very common mistake.
Yes. People
who don't know the game, they're not taking odds. They walk up in the middle and they put $10 on the points of 5.
Yeah.
So if 5 comes up, they win 10. If they just place it, they win 14.
Right.
So, and a lot of times the dealers will automatically just move it for you.
Yes.
So you get the best bet.
Yes. One final thing, there are some casinos that will not let you put money on the pass line once a point's been established, and those are mostly in Atlantic City. The Atlantic City, apparently it's a law there.
Right.
You cannot make, it's called a put bet. You cannot make put bets in Atlantic City.
And I think that's to protect the gambler who doesn't know what they're doing.
That was the idea.
That's the intention of the law.
Yeah.
As far as people adjusting their odds during a roll, we have here the king of adjusting his odds during a roll. I don't think your odds are ever the same on any particular roll.
I like to have an even $100 amount in my rack.
Yeah.
So anything over that $100, that's what I take for odds. As long as it's proper odds, it's got to be an even number for 5 and 9, a multiple of 5 for 6 and 8. But
when the point's established, I immediately take full odds. You take some weird amount and then you adjust it on every single roll. And the thing that I get the biggest kick out of is every once in a while, the point's made and you've actually got full odds. And you make a big deal. Oh, I had full odds.
Yeah,
because the roll before you had not even 1 times odds, right?
But then there are also times where I'll have like $10.
Yeah.
I'll have $50 on the line.
And $10
odds. Because that's the amount over 100.
Yeah.
I want my rack to be an even $100 amount.
Explain the math behind that, okay?
But to get to your point, Jason, you can do whatever you want with your odds during a roll. You can take them back. You can add to them as long as it's, up to the amount that the casino allows. That's up to you. You can move those however you want.
You can even put an odd amount on 5 and 9 and it'll still work.
They'll let you do it.
Yeah, you've done it plenty, Mark.
Yep.
I always get a kick out of the dealers because they look at that and they what has he got?
I know.
They cut it all out, and then some of them are trying to figure it out in their head.
And I'm terribly embarrassed. I mean, you know me. It's like, Mark did this, right? And then I, have to be quiet the rest of the night. All right, next call.
Hi, guys. I'm a new listener to the podcast, and I was just wondering, Mark, when you play the don't bets, how do you do your odds when you're playing that strategy? I heard you talk on the last episode how you don't double down and you'll wait out a hot roller, but how are you doing the odds when you do play the don't strategy? Thanks for the tips.
Okay, so I've been playing the don't quite a bit lately. We've also been playing at $50 tables recently, which is pretty high, but I've been having a pretty good year. So, I stick with you on these $50 tables. Right. But when I'm taking odds on the don't, I'm taking single odds. So what that means is, again, I've got a $50 don't pass or don't come. If the point is 6 or 8, I lay 60 against it.
So you win 50
on the
You
odds.
basically want to win $50 on your flat bet and $50 on your odds.
Right.
So you're putting whatever odds is going to give you a $50 payout.
Exactly. So on the 5 and 9, I'm laying 75 odds.
Right.
That'll pay 50. And on the 4 and 10, I'm laying 100 odds. That'll pay 50. So yeah, that's single odds. So I don't get too much out there, but that's what I'm doing right now.
And funny thing about the don't is you're never adjusting those because you have to hand it to the dealer and they put it up by them. So it's not easy access to adjust.
Yeah, there are some casinos like, most are not like this, but the Harrah's Southern California, the don't pass and the don't come are one single area. So even if you're making a don't pass bet, when the point is established, they actually take your money and move it up to the point behind the number.
Right.
It's not usually the way a layout is, but again, at Harrah's Southern California, don't pass, don't come. It's just one area.
Right.
Yeah.
That's maybe a advantage play you should think about. At Harrah's, you ask them to leave your money there. Then if the dice hit them and it's a 7 out, you say, "Oh, I was adding to my odds." I didn't have a don't come bet.
So I need to ask them to leave the money in the don't pass, don't come area
Right.
for every one of my bets.
Right.
No, that's on the 5. This one over here, that's on the 6.
Yeah, that way you can
Keep your hands off my chips.
you can confuse them enough that you'll always win, Mark.
Okay, I'll try
You
that
should
this weekend.
Try that. Yeah, see if you can push the house a little bit.
All right. Good idea, Mike. All right, next up is Andrew.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Andrew from New Jersey. First-time caller. Love the show. Just want to follow up on a couple calls from your episode last week. One of them at Harrah's in New Jersey. I've kind of stayed away from Harrah's and the Caesars properties as their odds and offerings to table game players and slot players specifically has kind of gone down the past few years, but decided to check them out because I heard the roll to win table was there. I was able to make a trip with my brother and played that table for a good 4 hours or so and was noticing, just like your caller had mentioned the last time, that you were not earning any tier credits for your play there. I can confirm there was no signs anywhere posted about this, and that left me kind of bummed. I'm hoping that there's still some offers and mailers, things like that they'll give us for our play, but definitely gave them a significant amount of play, even with the $5 minimum. So we are open to hopefully get something back for that. One other note you mentioned for the roll to win the tables specifically is that it becomes really difficult to tip the dealers on those tables. They do have an option on this table specifically that had a little tip icon on the top right of the screen, but there was no real way to make a bet for the dealers. And I had asked the dealers about that, if there was a way to track that, and basically they told me they weren't sure, they didn't know. I ended up having to just place some bets on the layouts and then try to remember which ones were placed for the dealers and then just tip them the winnings. And I guess that could be a solution for Tim, who called afterwards last week as well, just about, trying to place that all-call small bet for the dealers and them giving him trouble saying, we can't bet this just for the dealer. I guess one way could be just you bet it yourself. And then if you win, you just tip the dealer all of the winnings. So not sure if that was an issue with just being a single dollar, if they had a $5 minimum on all those bets, but just another potential way that he could be able to tip the dealers. All right. Thanks a lot. Love the show. Look forward to the next episode. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so whether or not you can tip on a roll-to-win table will depend on the software. I think most roll-to-win tables are being upgraded to the latest software, so there is a little tip section there where you can tip the dealer. But Andrew makes a good point. You can't actually make a bet for them unless you were to say, "Oh, okay, I'm going to place the 6, and if it hits, I'm going to tip you the amount."
Right.
I mean, you have to announce it ahead of time to get any credit for if it loses, right? If that's what you want, it's credit for it. Otherwise, you don't say anything. It hits, and So
At the end of a session, you've been there 4 hours. You just look at them and like, "Man, I tipped you guys $500. You never won once.
Not one time.
Not one time did you win."
And then what Andrew suggested on our last episode, Tim was talking about how he couldn't make an all small tall bet for the dealers if there wasn't another player already on that. And so Andrew was suggesting kind of the same thing, like, okay, I'm going to make the all small tall, And if it hits, I'll give it to you. Or maybe you don't say anything because then they won't book it. Oh, well, if it's for us, then we won't book it.
Yeah.
But then again, do you get credit for it if you don't say anything?
Well, then it brings up the moral dilemma. When it hits, you're like, no.
See, that's the thing.
I'm taking that $1,000.
That was actually a pretty good hit. I think I'm good. Thank you. Color up, please.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. It's an interesting he brought this up. There's a guy at Harrah's Rincon who's there mostly in the day. I don't think you see him much, Mark, but I've seen him several times. He loves the roll to win. And what he does, it's right next to the regular craps table.
Yeah.
He just, in between a roll or something, he runs over to the regular craps table and then makes a bet for the dealers on the regular craps table.
Oh, okay.
So he has chips in his hand, I guess, from, wherever else he's been playing. Sometimes he has cash.
Yeah.
But he runs over there. He says, $18 inside for the dealers.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Then he goes back and plays his table.
Oh, okay.
Because they split their tips.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, that he doesn't bet it on that table.
Yeah, yeah.
He just does it on another table. And he does that periodically. It's pretty interesting.
That's actually a good thing.
At one time, he's a pretty big player.
Yeah.
At one time, he had 135 across.
For the dealers?
For the dealers.
Oh, wow, nice.
And he told them to parlay them all once. And then collect.
Okay.
And so if a 5 hit, parlay it. If it hits again, take it down.
Okay.
Completely, the bet and the winnings. And, the dealers are intently keeping track of everything.
Yeah.
So that's another way to do it.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Well, getting back to the roll to win table that Andrew is playing at, where you don't get any credit. I'll tell you, Andrew, we're guessing you won't get mailers based on your roll to win play. I bet you don't get any credit for it. If it's not building up on the machine, I don't think there's some extra way for the casino to say, well, he didn't earn any points, but he was there for 4 hours. I think it's a crime, but I don't think he's going to get anything for it.
No, I don't think they're even monitoring that, right?
Yeah.
There's no pit guy that monitors Andrew was here.
I mean,
for
his
X
card's
amount
in.
of hours.
The card is still in, so there's some way to track him. But if you're not earning anything, I don't know if it's going to get you anything.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I'm wrong.
It'd kind of be like putting your card in a slot machine and just sitting there.
Yeah, that's kind of,
right.
I think you're right? Not pressing the button. Sure, it's the card has been in there for 4 hours, but
it's just like when somebody leaves their card in the machine and walks away. Well, their card's still in the machine. It's still got them as the player, but the machine's not being used, so they're not getting any credit.
Yeah. Well, again, I hope we're wrong. All right, next call.
Gentlemen, it's Adam from Denver, Colorado. Been a little while since I've called in, but I've been listening this whole time. I really appreciate you guys continuing to do the show during the pandemic. I think it's kept a lot of us at least somewhat sane. But anyway, Buddy and I just got back from a trip to Vegas this past weekend. Went Saturday through Monday. It was our first trip in 16 months. It was our longest gap in trips in probably 15 years. But both vaccinated, so headed out there. They changed up our flights, and our flight actually landed at 6:50 in the morning on Saturday. So we were at the craps table with drinks and dice in hand by about 7:30. So started at the Excalibur. Did pretty good there, $10 table, both up pretty nicely for us low rollers. Then just kind of made our way up the strip. Table limits were at least $10 pretty much everywhere, and a lot of places were 15. In fact, later in the day it was pretty much only 15. And then we went down to Fremont Street, and even there it was $10 minimums at least, and a lot of them were 15. I mean, heck, even El Cortez was $15 minimums, which is crazy to me. But anyway, got to check out Circa, which is great. The craft tables were all actually full there, so didn't get on a table. Overall feeling in Vegas, it's great. It was busy. It was great to see, but for anybody who may still be a little anxious about being in crowds, I would not recommend going, as it was very busy everywhere we went. But good to see, good for all the workers there too. One thing I was kind of wondering about is, I think the majority of the casinos, both Strip and Fremont, had the plastic dividers on the craps tables, which I was a little concerned about, but I was surprised. They didn't actually take away from the kind of jovial atmosphere as much as I thought they might. I mean, I still think they're kind of security theater, but anyway, I was pleasantly surprised that the tables were still all very boisterous, and with the dividers, it actually allowed the tables to have more people on each side. In fact, dividers allowed for at least 4, and some of the tables even had 5 on each side. So anyway, overall, great trip. gambling wise, not so much, but we were just happy to get back there and throw dice around and had a great time, and happy to see Vegas really on its way back. So anyway, thanks for all you guys do, and keep up the good work. All right, take it easy.
Yeah, Vegas is very quickly trying to get back to normal. The plastic dividers are coming down.
Right.
In fact,
they are here too.
Yeah.
I heard somebody told me that Viejas took all theirs down.
Okay, yeah. If there are any plastic dividers still up in Vegas, and they may all be down, but if there are any left over, I imagine by the end of June they'll be gone because they're getting rid of masks now and
right.
everything. So and if it's crowded, it sounds like it's going to be back to normal, quote unquote. So
we're seeing the surge. I've been reading articles about all kinds of restaurant surge, airplane surge, gambling surge. Everyone wants to go do the things they couldn't do before.
Sure.
And so now, it's hard to get flights.
Right. And,
they're booked.
a lot of people have had both shots.
Right.
And so, we're getting back there. So good news overall. Good news.
Yeah. I think I saw an article where airplanes were going to weigh people. Now, there was some talk about weighing passengers for flights. So like how baggage, they can only have so much weight on a plane.
Yeah.
And so they were going to weigh people and stuff. It was some article that somebody wrote. So casinos should do that too. What they should do at the craps table, Mark, is they should measure you. Girth. They should measure your girth.
Your girth, you say.
Yeah. And then decide how many can play on a side. If your friends are all real skinny, we can get 12 of you on this side.
Yeah.
If you're a bunch of big guys, it's like, 3. 3's good.
All right. I guess I'll start eating a lot more.
Yeah.
And then I think I like that idea.
Yeah, there you go. You'll have more room. We've got girth for 4 over here on table 6.
Girth for 4. All right. Next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Alex from Atlanta, Georgia. Wanted to give a brief trip report. I was in Cherokee Casino this past weekend. Cherokee came out on top. I ended up losing. It wasn't too bad, but I did experience something you mentioned in the last episode about getting paid when you're not supposed to get paid and what do you do. So I had the all tall small bet, and then it lost on a 7 out, but the dealers forgot to take mine down. And lo and behold, the next shooter ended up hitting one side of the bet, and I got paid off on it, and I never put it back up. So I didn't say anything, and I just collected my chips. So, I think it would have been weird home like, oh, no, I didn't have any bet placed up there. Take it back. So I just kept quiet. The other thing is Cherokee is no longer requiring masks, so you can still wear one if you choose to, but I saw that many people took it off on Saturday as soon as they announced that it was no longer required. I hope y'all are doing well. Thanks for the show. Bye.
Yeah, so see, there you go. That's kind of the general rule, depending on where you live and, how you interpret some of these things. If you've been vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask anymore.
Yeah. How many people do you think will still wear masks just for the sake of, I don't want to get a cold, or I don't want to get the flu, or I just don't want your hot stinking breath on my neck?
It's a good point. I think quite a few.
I think a lot.
Not a majority, but I think quite a few.
I think
it has been nice during this whole period to not have gotten the common cold and things like that.
I tell all my patients that if I was, I don't know if I would at a craps table, to be honest. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. But if I was going, like, say, to Costco and it was really crowded on a Saturday, I think I'd put a mask. I've got tons of disposable ones.
Right.
I'd just put one on real quick because, like, during cold season.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I hate getting colds.
Yeah. Well, after this whole thing, you won't look as odd as you would have if you'd done it, say, 5 years ago. Maybe he's got a compromised immune system or something.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So,
every time you saw somebody in a casino with a mask on, you always thought, what's their problem, right? And now you're just going to be thinking, oh, that guy's pretty smart. He doesn't want to get a cold, right?
Yep, exactly. Yes, on the last episode we were talking about, when will we point out mistakes? When will we let things slide? This is a good example of, this was the dealer's responsibility to clear off his bet, and they didn't, and he ended up winning. And he probably would have replaced the bet, but that's not the point. They messed up, and he got paid, and that's one we wouldn't have called attention to.
He might have, and it's
whatever.
It's a minor thing. I'm sure the casino didn't really sweat it that much.
Something like this happened a while back, Mike. I don't know if you remember this. We were playing at the D, and they had the all small tall, and we bet it on the come out, and an 8 was rolled, and they marked the 8, and then it was an immediate 7 out. They took all the bets down, and we replaced them. But the 8 was still marked.
Yeah.
They didn't, take it back.
I remember that. Yeah.
And we ended up hitting
the whole thing.
The whole thing. And you'd think, oh, big deal, it was an 8, but no, there had been no 8s since that 7 out.
I remember that.
And we're looking at it like that.
You and I are like looking at each other, our eyes are rolling back and forth. We're thinking, are they going to catch us? Are they going to catch us? No, an 8 never came up. We won that bet.
Yeah. So again, judge us as you will. But we took advantage of that mistake.
Well, we feel bad about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And karma will catch up to us.
Oh, absolutely.
Too.
This is our confessional here, this whole podcast.
Right. That's another shirt. Karma will catch up to us.
All right, last call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Scott from Boston. It was great to meet you guys when I was out your way a few weeks ago. I wanted to run a little weirdness we ran into at the Encore Boston Harbor the other day by you guys and see what you thought. Shooter was in the middle of a decent roll. Point was 6. He rolled the dice down the table and they bounced back into the stack. And the dice looked like a 6, but they hit one of the dealer's stacks of chips, which fell over on the dice. And when they removed the chips, it was a 7 out. The shooter and another couple people who were on that end of the table that saw the roll protested. They went to the cameras, but the ruling was 7 out. I wonder if you guys have been in that situation before and if you think the casino did the right thing. To me, a no roll would have been a more appropriate call in that case, but love to hear your opinion. Hope you guys are having better luck these days, and I will definitely give you a holler next time I'm headed west.
Good. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. We almost need to see exactly what happened if we could have witnessed it. But when the dealer, removed the chips, did the die flip in a certain way, or was the die already kind of, settled?
Right.
And we've talked about how, if you're going to determine what a roll is and a die is leaning, the rule is kind of, well, if it's leaning against chips, if you remove those chips, what would it land on? That's kind of the rule.
Right.
So I don't know.
A lot of times you'll see a dealer actually remove the chips very slowly.
Yeah.
So the dice, lands like it would. And then, then that's very obvious, right?
Yeah.
But I understand how sometimes people say, no, it would have went the other way.
Yeah, I do too. But it sounds like in this case, the die hit the stack of chips and maybe it was settled kind of a certain way, but then the chips fell onto it.
Right.
Maybe changing it. Well, that kind of stuff happens at the craps table all the time, right? And
especially when there's some guy on the don't come and's got all of his chips stacked up like crazy on it, right?
So as far as, what the call should have been, I think maybe it should have been a 7. But again, since this was kind of a crazy situation, yeah, I think the casino probably should have said, okay, no roll.
If I was a pit boss and even one person had a dispute, like somebody just said, oh, no, I don't think it should have been that, I would say, okay, fine, no roll.
Yeah. This seemed like a case where maybe you could argue with it, that even though, based on everything we normally do, the roll is a 7.
If you're the pit boss, you just say, okay, no roll. Give him the dice back. The guy rolls, 7 comes up, and you, yes!
I told you.
I'd love to see a pit do that.
6 ace in your face.
I'd get a biggest kick out of that.
But yeah, it's going to depend on how much discretion the pit has to make a decision like that, or whatever.
Right.
I
would hope they'd give them. They could do anything they want because in the long run, like we've said a million times, they're getting their money.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the drunk people at the table driving me crazy, right? Honestly, it's exactly the same. Can we just kick them out? Can the pit just have kicked them out?
Oh, okay. So you're saying that the reason these stories are exactly the same,
right,
is because the pit can decide what happens.
Yeah, the pit should
the roll
just
of the dice
them out.
or the drunk people at the table.
Yeah, just kick them out. Let's keep our players happy and get rid of the idiots.
Some way, it's weird though, because in some way it would be a free roll for the players, because if it had been the point,
right,
and they decided that's what it was, then the players would have gotten paid. Now you could argue that the casino's also free rolling in that they could have said no roll on, the 6.
Right. And then the next roll's a 7.
It could go either way. But anyway, I think they should have, just said no roll, but whatever. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring PayPal donations. Justin, Robin from Anytime Gambling, Nathan, Brian Dancer, Brian and Sarah, and Josh. Thanks for those recurring donations. We also got a karma donation from Kevin and Kelly. First trip to Vegas tomorrow since December 2019. Eek. Yeah, it's been a long time for a lot of people for that. Well, good luck on your trip. Also, a donation from John. Karma for first Vegas trip, actually first casino trip of any kind, since the summit in October 2019.
Wow.
That seems like a million years ago, doesn't it? We were there.
We were
Gosh.
there. Yeah, and we were talking about that this year, so there's going to be no summit this year.
No, and in fact, Tim and Michelle have come out and said they're basically done with live performances of their show.
Oh, okay.
So there may be the summit in some kind of form, but nothing like it used to be. So, but there are a lot of Vegas nerds who are talking about getting together maybe in October. Yeah. So.
That probably would be a better thing to put out some kind of informal meetup, and we'll just all be there because everyone will find everybody.
Yeah, sure, right.
But you're not obligated to do anything in particular.
And we'll see as we get close what our plans are too.
Right.
And finally, a donation from Thomas. Karma Donation got a Vegas trip scheduled for June 1st through the 4th. Keep up the great work on the pod. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you very much, Thomas. Good luck on your trip. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listing showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings and our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonThat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. Dr. Mike?
I'll tell you, Mark, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you will never test positive for steroids from butt cream because you are so hot right now. The butt cream would evaporate as soon as it hits your butt. I mean, you're hotter than hell. The butt cream wouldn't have a chance because the horseshoe that's stuck upside you is sticking out so far. Oh my God.
I'm having a good year.
You're having a monster year.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you cannot make a bad decision. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's very, very weird. But for the last several months now, I'm not talking weeks, I'm talking months. If you move a bet to somewhere, that's the right move.
Yeah, I'm on a tear.
You have not made any wrong moves. And you don't have a pattern. It's not like you're following any particular pattern. It's just like you're just making the right moves at the right time.
Yeah, it's been, good luck. And I'm not really... Okay, so we have been playing at limits that are generally a little higher than I play because of the pandemic and everything. But I'm not going crazy. I'm sticking with, basically the lowest bets I can make.
If you were going crazy, you'd be retiring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Well, thank you. It has been a good year so far.
It has been a very good year for you and has also been a very good year for our San Diego Padres.
Yes. All right. You were kind of down on them for a while there.
And I'm still going to be. I'm going to give them the business until the very end because that's the only way they'll win.
Yeah.
The moment we get complacent, that's when we'll lose.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because remember a few episodes ago we were talking about that no-hitter pool.
Right.
And how, man, no-hitters, they're so rare. How many have there been this season so far?
I was listening to the telecast the other night.
Yeah.
Since 1900 or something, the average is about 4 no-hitters in a season, they said. Somewhere around 4.
Yeah.
Okay, we've already had 5. And we're still in May.
Yeah.
The most no-hitters in a season has been 7.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
So, and the average was 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah.
So we're going to pass 7. I'm thinking by July. So this is going to be the most no-hitters, which kind of pisses me off a little.
Why is that?
Because it's the year the Padres got a no-hitter,
yeah.
right? Everyone's going to say, well, everyone was getting no-hitters that year, even the Padres.
Yeah.
It would have been better if, we had the only no-hitter, although we did have the first.
Yeah, that's true. We did have the
No-hitter
first
of the year, right?
Yeah. And one of the no-hitters was in a doubleheader game, right? A
Right.
7-inning
Right.
no-hitter. So do you count that? I don't know.
Well,
Whatever.
yes,
But still,
you do.
okay, fine.
And as speaking of Joe Musgrove, who threw the no-hitter for the Padres,
Yeah.
today he pitched an excellent game.
great game, yeah.
He pitched 7 innings of one-hit ball.
Yeah, it was
so,
terrific.
yeah. They're definitely playing well, and I'm going to keep on their case until they win the whole thing.
Okay.
Because, as we all know, the person who bitches the most gets the most.
We know that.
Yep.
So how do you want to sign this off? Go Dodgers?
Go Dodgers.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Good night.
El Cajon? That's the anus of San Diego.